good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on which part of the world you are in. Welcome to this Pan IIT World of Technology Summit, and welcome to this session on happiness, technology for happiness. The topic we have today is the single most thing which defines our existential quest on earth. We are here to be happy and in constant search for that. But happiness is like a mirage. Around us, there are so much material advancement of technology and so many material comforts. But today, despite of our cellular phones, computer technology, satellite televisions, people are in more anxiety and depression than ever before in history. What have we forgotten in this quest? What does one need to do to lead a happy life in this material world? To speak on this, we have one of our own fraternity. Let me introduce you to my counterpart on this virtual fireside chat. Many of you are from IIT Universe and also from outside this IIT. All of you know him already. He needs no further introduction. But let me do this formality. His Grace Gauranga Das is a BTech graduate from IIT Bombay and is serving in various capacities at national and at global level in ESCON organization. He is the director of Govardhan Eco Village, a United Nations World Tourism Organization award-winning eco village community. I was fortunate to meet Prabhuji about 8-9 years back. And since then, I'm in regular interaction, touch with him, learning a lot, continue to learn a lot from him. This village, Govardhan village, Mr. Prabhu will be talking about this during his talk. I have made 3 to 4 visits. It's a model village that needs to be replicated across India to change our landscape. It uses simple environment-friendly technologies for water intervention, agriculture, health, waste to green technology for solid management, solid waste management, sewerage management, even plastic to fuel. They have developed technology. So their center is in fact way ahead in developing a lot of environment-friendly technology to improve the life of our society. We have adopted these technology in some of these villages in Wada district to improve the livelihood. And we have seen immense benefit, coming out, transforming the lives of the villagers within a year or so. Earning while learning is another initiative started by Prabhuji under Prabhuji's leadership. And maybe he may mention about this, how that is transforming the life of young children, students. Gaurang Das Prabhuji is as an inspirational speaker by his expertise of presenting Vedic knowledge in a contemporary and inciting way. He is making spirituality accessible to all. He has represented ESCON as a speaker in various conferences and has given more than 10,000 discourses. So Prabhuji, I'll be putting few questions. I'll leave the floor to you for next 30-35 minutes. I won't be in between. I'll just put you a few questions to you, and maybe you can respond while you're during your presentation, your talk. Prabhuji, you have studied at IIT Bombay, which is a premier institute. Can you narrate your incident in your life that you led to take this path in life, and how do you feel about it? Was it the pressure at IIT Bombay that you decided to move into this area? At what point in your journey did you get this trigger or inner calling? The second is, as a spiritual guru, you have been traveling across the world. You have traveled across. And can you tell us some experience in ESCON where you have worked in transforming the society and making people happier? The third question, is nowadays we see a lot of miseries around us, natural disturbances. Like recently you saw in British Columbia, the temperature going beyond 50 degrees centigrade. too much cold, blazing fires, earthquakes, tsunamis, landslides. And some people would believe that the Mother Earth responds to the karmic behavior of the human society. If there is a massive sins, massive disrespect for the laws of God across the whole planet, there is going to be a major catastrophe. Is that true, sir? So over to you, sir, for the next 35 minutes. Please welcome Prabhu Gaurang Das ji.
Thank you very much, Sunil ji and Pan IIT fraternity for welcoming me this afternoon. Afternoon for me, but as you said, namaskar to everybody across the different parts of the world. Am I audible, Sunil ji? Fine?
Absolutely clear, sir.
Thank you. So, thank you very much for bringing up these questions. And I'll begin by sharing my experience at IIT, that it was a fantastic learning experience connecting with intelligent folks, especially in the hostel. As all of you know, that in IIT we learn some of the most impactful lessons in the hostel. And it so happened that one of my close friends who was also studying there in one of the nearby hostels attempted to commit suicide. And that was a trigger point for me to understand more about the mind, because as far as I knew that he had everything going well, but you never know that what people are going through inside is many times not seen on the surface. So then I also found that many people who have much less are sometimes more happier also. So there did not seem to be a correlation between achievements and happiness per se all the time. So it was a very intriguing phenomenon, and that led me to pursue deeper about the mind. And I had always been intrigued about the concept of death, and is death a solvable problem? And then when I studied the Bhagavad Gita, I found out that death is a problem which can be solved, which can be intervened, and which can be planned for, just like you plan for your family and your profession and your business and things like that. So then I thought it's a very interesting area of research and study. And so, that is what inspired me to enter into this more deeply on a regular basis. And over the last 29 years, I've been involved with this, first beginning with self-transformation, and then later developing into social impact. So this is a program which we are running at the Eco Village, Social Impact Through Self-Transformation. And I share more about this in my book, The Art of Resilience, which I've just published through Penguin. And the whole idea is that the whole human society is searching for happiness. So Dr. Robert Waldinger, in his famous talk, he speaks about the Harvard study of adult development. And this has been the longest study which has happened. And since 1938, where almost we have now several years of 724 plus men who have been part of this journey. And at least 60 to 80 of them are still alive. And this consisted of studying two groups of people from Boston. One were Harvard students coming from very established families. Second was a group which was coming from the poorest neighborhoods of Boston. And the idea was to see that whether your background, your family, your high education, wealth, all of these play a role in defining your happiness or not. And I must credit America for the very high standards of diligence with respect to research, which they usually apply, and the patience with which they do these things. So basically, at the end of this, or as part of this research, one of the most compelling lessons which they found was as follows, that number one, the quality of your life very much dependent on your relationship. Happiness was totally dependent on your relationship. People who were more socially connected to family, to friends, to the community, they are happier, healthier, they live longer than people who are less connected. Secondly, they also found out that it's not the number of friends which you have, but it's the quality of close relationships which matter more. And then the third very powerful impact of the story which came out of this was that good relationships did not just protect the bodies, but they protected the brains, also keeping the memory sharper. In short, if you are looking for a quality in life, that quality in life can be measured in various ways. One of the ways you can measure it is in terms of happiness. And that happiness is, as per the Harvard study, very much dependent on what we call as intimate, satisfying relationships. And therefore, the question may arise that what exactly is the definition of happiness? So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes very beautifully that happiness is described as a state which is free from hankering and lamentation. And so, as far as the secret of happiness is concerned, that when we have satisfying relationships, which is based on integrity, service attitude, tolerance, and humility, one experiences a great degree of quality of happiness. So these are 4 qualities which are extremely important for establishing long-term sustainable relationships. And therefore, in the context of India, this is extremely important because somehow by the will of providence, if you consider that happiness as one of the most crucial deal breakers for defining the quality of life, and relationship as one of the most important qualifiers for establishing the quality of happiness, then somehow in India we have an excellent background with the values, tradition, and culture, where families, society, and friends are naturally inclined towards a relationship-based society. So in today's discussion, I will focus on these 4 qualities which, when developed, will help us improve the quality of our relationships. So the first quality is integrity. So when we develop the quality of our integrity, we improve the quality of our relationships. When we improve the quality of our relationships, we improve the overall experience of happiness. So what does integrity mean? Integrity means to do things as we have spoken. Honesty means to speak, what I have done. So therefore, integrity is defined in the different kinds of literatures as Manasyekam Vachasyekam Karmasyekam Mahatmana Manasanya Vachasanya Karmasanya Duratmana. When there is a synergy between what we think, speak, and do, that is known as integrity. In the Ramayana, taking example of Ramayana, because during the lockdown, the Doordarshan Ramayana, which was so popular in the 80s, was replayed, and that garnered more views than practically any other television serial. So it was an all-time record, which shows that all of these wonderful, amazing pastimes from our ancient tradition are still so very relevant in helping improve the quality of our lives. So we learn about integrity from Lord Ram. So as you know, that Ram was assigned to become the king, All preparations were going on. And then out of the blue, Kaikeyi, taking advantage of her relationship with Dasharath and the promise which Dasharath had made, she banished Lord Ram to the forest and conspired to make Bharat the king. So this was a major adversity. If you translate this situation in your own life, imagine that you have worked your entire 10, 15 years in a company, in a job, or in a business, and you're just about to be appointed as CEO. And one day before, you are called and unceremoniously sacked and sent to some other place or removed without any logic, without any reason. And the board just tells you that we made a promise to someone that we will fulfill their desire at some point, whatever they ask, and this is what they ask. So it will appear totally illogical, it will appear totally stupid. But well, that was the situation Ram was in, and there was no logic, there was no reason for this. But without speaking anything, he just accepted this, and he just wanted to demonstrate the importance of the family values of obedience. So therefore, Lord Ram was quite keen to establish some of these very important values which are important to run a family properly in the long run. As most of you here are graduates from IIT, I do not need to share anything about competence with you, because most of you, I believe, must already be at the peak of your career and have achieved materially which you had set sights to achieve. But what is important is to share the importance of the secret of maintaining relationships in the social circle, in the family circle, especially with the kids, with the next generation, because that is sometimes challenging. And so, if you see the example of Lord Ram, he was told by Dasharath to go to the forest because of Kaikeyi. But Ram immediately agreed to do that because he wanted to show the importance of obedience. So yes, there are always differences of opinion on decisions, and we can never always agree on a particular decision. But what really keeps things going is when the decisions are made, the people who are affected by the decision agree to abide by the decision considering the bigger picture. So Lord Ram was seeing the bigger picture, that the future generations need to understand the value of maintaining and running and protecting a family properly. So most people think that businesses have value, and they do not really feel that families have that same kind of value. So Goldman Sachs came up with a report that between 2016 and 2026, the infrastructural investments required for India would be more than $1.3 trillion. And then from where it would come? And they found out that more than $800 billion of that would come from family savings. So many times people think that family means it's only of emotional value, but we must not forget the actual financial repercussions of keeping family values intact. Because the values which drive a family will make the family make choices and priorities which ultimately, indirectly, add to the value in the economy in so many ways. So therefore, Lord Ram, wanting to demonstrate the principle of obedience, although it was such a difficult thing to do, he accepted that order and quit the royal luxuries of Ayodhya in one moment and took up Valkal Vastra, or cloth, which was meant for the mendicants. And in the next moment, he was ready to go to the forest. And Lord Ram did not utter a single word of dissent. And in fact, many people tried to convince Lord Ram not to go. In fact, Lakshman tried to convince Ram. Kaushalya tried to convince Ram. The various citizens tried to convince him. But he wanted to demonstrate the integrity of fulfilling one's promise, whatever has been made. So it is described as he was entering into that chamber to meet Dasharath Maharaj and Kaikeyi. He saw all the ingredients kept for his Rajyabhishek outside. He smiled upon it. And when he came out after hearing the verdict that he has to be sent to the forest for 14 years, he had a bigger smile on his face. Why? Because he was happy to follow the instructions of Dasharath Maharaj and demonstrate the value of obedience. And therefore, Lord Ram represents integrity. Vibhishana, he sees that Ravana is going totally off track. Ravana is doing all kinds of things which will jeopardize the security of the entire Lanka. Vibhishana, he is a dear well-wisher of Ravana. And when he sees that his leader is taking decisions unilaterally without consulting others, and the entire team is simply become yes men and not questioning any of those decisions and not seeing the future, Vibhishana cannot remain quiet. So he speaks up. So the word Vibhishana means one who strikes terror in the heart of Ravana. But Vibhishana has no track record of ever lifting a weapon against Ravana. So what is that aspect of Vibhishana's personality which caused tremor in the heart of Ravana? Vibhishana was a person of total integrity who could not be purchased by the entirety of the gold in Lanka. And it was Vibhishana's integrity and uprightness and the boldness and bravery with which he could speak up his mind and question any and every decision of Dasharath, whatever he felt was against protection of Lanka and against the protection of the dynasty and the family. Because of that uprightness, boldness, and bravery and ability to speak out his mind, he would strike terror in the hearts of Ravana. And therefore, Ravana knew that I could control the entire Lanka. I can control anybody here, but I cannot control this Vibhishana. I cannot bind him into submission because he has total integrity. And therefore, a person with integrity, like Vibhishana, strikes terror in the hearts of those with vested interests. So therefore, Vibhishana, he decides to quit Ravana and take shelter of Lord Ram. And at that time, all those who are supporting Lord Ram, they are raising objections that we cannot accept Vibhishana because he is a close, confidential, younger brother of Ravana. He is belonging to the camp of the enemy. But Lord Ram says, Sakradeva Prapanno Yastamasmi Tyachi, Avayam Sarvada Tasmai Dadamyetud Vratam Mama. Ram said, no. I have given my word that anyone comes to me, I will accept them. I have the power to accept them. I have the power to protect against any kind of calamity. So I have given my word. So even if it is Ravana's brother who has come, I have to fulfill my word. I am a person of integrity. And therefore, Lord Ram is a personality demonstrating the highest quality of integrity, because of which anybody and everybody feels the trust to connect and take shelter of Lord Ram. Therefore, integrity is a very important quality in a relationship. And those of us who are fortunate to have people in our lives whose integrity we can vouch for and we can totally trust, then we can ourselves see the quality of relationships we have with them and how that quality of relationships helps us experience greater happiness. The second element in a robust relationship is service attitude. Lakshman represents such a service attitude. Sarva priyakarastasya ramasacharita Lakshmi sampanno bahirprana ivapra. Lakshman word means one who is Lakshmi sampanna. Now you may wonder, Lakshman went to the forest. He was devoid of any Lakshmi. What is the meaning of Lakshmi sampanna? Lakshmi sampanna means Lakshman considered the greatest asset he had was the opportunity to serve Lord Ram and the mission of Lord Ram at any opportunity. So one of the greatest human resources challenges the world is facing today is to find people, manpower, employees, partners, human resource with genuine service attitude. Even in family, relationships break down because of lack of service attitude. One of the partners or some member feels that other person does not have enough attitude to serve. Therefore, there are three aspects of service attitude. First is bhava gyena or conscience. And so, Lakshman had that conscience of feeling an intention of pleasing Lord Ram. And that conscience is very, very important. He had deep affection, deep attachment towards Lord Ram. So unless either an employee or a member of the family has a deep sense of selfless service towards others, one will not have the proper conscience with which to serve. So ultimately, the challenges and difficulties and the ups and downs in the journey of life will test our relationships. Our relationships either with organizations, either with people, either in family, either in social setting. But we need to develop the right conscience, the right bhava. And the purity in our intention to serve is very important. Then second is bhava gyena, kritagyena. Apart from conscience, to have an excellent service attitude, you need competence. What does competence mean? Lakshman, right from his childhood, was seeing how the different people make houses, so that when they were in Panchavati, Lakshman on his own started assembling things together and created a beautiful cottage, just the way he had seen in Ayodhya being built by karigars. And when Lakshman built that, Lord Ram was so astonished to see that. He congratulated Lakshman and he said, in your presence, when I experience so much of care from you, and when I see that that care is translating into such attention to detail, that you have created a cottage, especially with a separate room for me and Sita, also without me having to tell you. So this speaks volumes about your competence and your care or conscience. And then the third is bhava, that when he built this beautiful cottage for Ram and Sita, he did not build anything for himself. And therefore, when Sita at one point of time had sent Ram away to chase behind the golden deer, and when that was Maricha and he cried out, "Hey Lakshman, hey Sita, save me," because he was hit by Ram's arrow, Lakshman told Sita, "Don't heed this call. This is not Ram's voice. It is some demon's voice." But Sita insisted, "Lakshman, you must go in the rescue of Ram." Lakshman refused, but then finally Sita accused Lakshman of having improper intentions, of wanting to enjoy. And so then when Sita was kidnapped by Ravana and she was traveling over, and from the Pushpak Viman, she threw down some jewels when she saw the monkeys. Those monkey soldiers showed those jewels to Ram and Lakshman. Ram said to Lakshman, "See, can you recognize Sita Devi's jewels?" And Lakshman said, "Naham janami keyure, naham janami kankane, nupureva vijanami, Sita pada bhavandanat." I cannot recognize Sita's earrings, nose rings, necklace. I can only recognize the beautiful pile which she wears at the feet, the ornaments of the feet, because I would always be respectfully looking towards her feet only. So Lakshman had such a high character, but still he was accused by Sita. When one's intention and one's competence both are questioned, then one loses one's inspiration to serve. But then Lakshman realized that if one aspires to have long-term service, one has to be ready to tolerate various kinds of accusations and question marks raised about one's intentions. And so Lakshman, through his highest care and conscience, highest competence and character, demonstrated that his real dhan, his real wealth was service to Ram. And so he demonstrates the second most important quality required for a relationship to keep one happy, which is service attitude. The third very powerful quality required for maintaining relationships which will lead to happiness is tolerance. And that is represented by Bharata. Bibhrati iti Bharata, Bharata Rajya Bharanat. Bharat had nothing to do with Ram being sent to the forest. It was Kaikeyi's conspiracy. But because Bharat was the beneficiary, he became party to that conspiracy indirectly, and people accused him of being a conspirator. Kaushalya accused him, Vasishta accused him, the citizens accused him, Guha accused him, Bharadwaj Muni accused him, Lakshman accused him. To be accused by one's near and dear ones for something you have not done is one of the most excruciatingly painful experiences. One of the reasons people leave organizations and go to other teams and other organizations or start off on their own is because they feel that injustice has been done. They feel that I've been accused of something I have not done at all. And therefore, that pain was something which was so difficult for Bharat. And when he went to put fire on Dasharath Maharaj's dead body, Vasishta stopped him and said, you cannot put fire on Dasharath Maharaj's dead body. You cannot do the last rites. Bharat said, but Ram is not there. I am the next eldest. And at that time, Vasishta Rishi said, while dying, your father Dasharath has expressly spoken to me and said, it is my last will that at no point Bharat should set fire to my funeral pyre because he's a co-conspirator, he's a villain, he's a wicked man. And he is the one responsible for sending Ram to the forest through Kaikeyi. And in this way, accusing Bharat as a villain, Dasharath died. Just imagine the amount of load, of pain, which Bharat had to carry his whole life, thinking that my father, whom I love the most, left his body having some misconceptions about me, and I have no way of clarifying that. So therefore, many times in our education system, there is so much emphasis only on skills, but how to cope with many of these real life situations, which are realities, are not taught. So Bharat Maharaj is called as Bharata because he had to carry the weight of misunderstanding. In fact, the citizens of Ayodhya, when they would see him early in the morning taking a bath in the Saryu, they would throw stones at him, so he would get up at 1:30 and take a bath. He had to administer and lead a group of people who hated him. And many times in leadership roles, we are put in situations where we know the members in our team and members in our organizations or members in our family don't really appreciate us so much. There has been experiences and episodes which have created bitterness in the relationship. But when we continue leading, because it is part of an inevitable responsibility, it requires tolerance to carry the weight of that misunderstanding. Bharata also was told by Ram to lead the kingdom, and therefore he was leading Ayodhya, which consisted of majority of people who hated him. So therefore it was a heavy weight of responsibility of administering Ayodhya. And therefore he is known as Rajya Bharanat, one who does not give up his duty in spite of the heavy weight of misunderstanding and responsibilities which are given to him in difficult circumstances. And therefore, tolerance is very important. So, integrity represented by Ram, service attitude represented by Lakshman, and tolerance represented by Bharata. Shatrugna nitya shatrugna nita priti puraskrita gachitam maktukalam bharatena tavanaga. Shatrugna represents humility, one who has managed to kill his enemy. Which is the enemy Shatrugna has killed? He has killed the enemy of ego. So therefore, humility means absence of ego. Why is Shatrugna called Shatrugna? Whole of Ayodhya was glorifying Ram. Whole of Ayodhya was vilifying Bharata. Lakshman was serving Ram, who was the center of glory. And Shatrugna was serving Bharat, who was the center of all accusations. But he continued serving him because that was his mission, that was his goal, that was his duty. And therefore, he had the humility to carry on serving and fulfill the desires of Bharata, because Lakshman was serving Bhagavan, but Bharat was, our Shatrugna was serving Bharata, who was a Bhagavata. And therefore, humility is the fourth element. And Shatrugna had that humility to serve in all kinds of negative circumstances, knowing that he will not be glorified for this. But he was not looking for self-glorification. He was looking for how Bharat can be pleased and satisfied. So, dear friends, the question arises that if ultimately happiness depends on relationships, and relationships depend on integrity, service attitude, tolerance, and humility, is there any sutra or a method or a process by which these four qualities can be developed? Yes, it is known as yoga. Yoga Chitta Vritti Virodha. And therefore, Microsoft conducted a study in 2017 and found out that between 2012 to 2017, the human attention span decreased from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. Number of internet users has grown from almost 400 million in 2000 to 4.6 billion in 2020. But people are so distracted. 12% of the websites across the world are pornographic, with 2.3 billion websites which are carrying pornographic content. And practically people are spending so many hours of the day being distracted in this manner. And especially in India, the number of people under the age of 24 who are distracted by this kind of content is very huge. Distraction causes American businesses more than $650 billion loss every year. And the distraction or the lack of self-control is seen in terms of how alcohol addiction leads to almost 3 million premature deaths every year globally, and almost 600,000 deaths in India. 100 million people were killed in 1900 to 2000 period. In that 1 century, due to smoking addiction, this will kill more than 1 billion people in the current century. And so globally, 6 million people are dying, almost 1 person every second due to smoking. Lack of self-control also means that almost 32% of the food which is produced is wasted. So people say, what about food problem? But actually 2.3 billion tons of food is wasted every single year. And as Mr. Sunil was speaking about waste, 2 billion metric tons of solid waste is produced annually. And that's going to increase to almost 3.5 billion metric tons by 2050. Only 13% is being recycled. And then what to speak of deaths, which is happening due to lack of control over food. Almost, in 2017, 18 million deaths happened due to cardiovascular diseases. And that was because of the wrong food choices. 10 million deaths due to cancer and 5 million premature deaths due to obesity. And therefore, the very important factor to consider is to improve our overall happiness in life. We need to improve our self-discipline, our self-control. And that self-control is very important. And we need to commit to a process by which we can control our own selves through meditation. If we do not commit to anything, we will be distracted by everything. We must not give up the practice because of the time needed to accomplish it. Habit is a lifestyle to be lived, not a finish line to be crossed. One's commitment to the process will actually determine one's progress. Disciplined people are better they are structuring their lives. And therefore, environment is the invisible hand that shapes the human behavior. Happiness comes not by maximizing our possessions, but by minimizing our attachments. And therefore, the value of what we drive doesn't matter as much as the values that drive us. Spirituality and yoga empower us to reclaim our destiny, to do our best, to bring out our best, to attain our best. Speak to give people peace of mind and not just a piece of your mind. We have to be honest, we have to be sincere, we have to be authentic in our efforts. Just because a thought is persistent doesn't make it pertinent. One must learn to peruse our thoughts. Worry is the interest we pay on loans we have not yet taken. Just reading more books on weight loss will not help us lose weight. Getting opportunities is providence. Grabbing them is diligence. Our choices have a louder voice to play than our voice itself, because what we do speak louder than what we say. If we do not stand for something, we will fall for anything. So maybe not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. For every minute we are angry, we lose 60 seconds of happiness. As Einstein said, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. And Churchill made this famous statement that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Everyone thinks of changing the world, but very few think of changing themselves. And therefore, wealth is the power time. Wealth is the power to choose how we spend our day. Mental wealth is the power to choose how we spend our attention. We have to develop the art of getting things done and also the art of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life consists in eliminating the non-essentials. And therefore, the place to improve the world is first in our own heart, in our own head, in our own hands, and then work outwards from there. Because new goals don't deliver new results. It is new lifestyles which do. And lifestyle is not an outcome, it is a process. So, dear friends, let us develop our energy in building better habits, not chasing better results. And therefore, 3 things we cannot buy: fitness, our diet, our spiritual discipline. And discipline is the fusion of intention with action. Foods add to our physical weight, thoughts add to our mental weight. Yoga helps us to accomplish mastery over our mind and senses. And therefore, logic will get us from A to Z, but life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So therefore, attitude is greater than accomplishment. One's flexibility, one's selflessness, one's forgiveness, one's obedience, one's dependence, all of this in provoking situations will make us noble. Therefore, in conclusion, I want to emphasize 3 things. Number 1, happiness depends on the quality of our relationship. Number 2, the quality of our relationship depends on how we have developed our integrity, service attitude, tolerance, and humility. And number 3, development of these qualities depends on a consistent practice of yoga and spiritual discipline. Therefore, a consistent spiritual discipline and yoga is the foundation for happiness. And to enable this, we have created an excellent place known as Govardhan Eco Village, which Sunilji very kindly mentioned. It's Eco Village, outskirts of Mumbai, www.ecovillage.org.in. It has been created specifically to enable ecotourism as a catalyst for rural development. We have tried to combine needs of the people in the city who are looking for freedom from stress and searching for peace. People in village are looking for economy and paisa. So without, how can peace and paisa be integrated? So through wisdom, Ayurveda and yoga, we have 120 rooms where we are having Ayurveda and yoga and various kinds of other conferences which we host. And in a totally Indian Green Building Council's platinum rated property. And then we are doing rural development in 75 villages. So I wanted to just share with you just 1 minute of this video, and then I will conclude.
Rampant illiteracy, malnutrition, and lack of infrastructure. This is the story of Wada, one of India's most backward tribal areas. However, since 2010, ecotourism has become a lifeline for this region. Govardhan Eco Village's sustainable development model, which is based on harmony with the self, the environment, and the divine, has helped employ over 300 tribal families. More than 60,000 tribals have been provided free medical care. 30,000 free meals are provided to school children every day. Over 60 borewells have been installed. More than 300 families received training in organic farming. Govardhan Eco Village has transformed the lives of the most deprived communities in the world.
Okay, so why is this book, Millionaire Success Habits, one of the breakout best-selling books of the year? Because in today's crazy, changing times and times of...
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for enlightening us on happiness. As you mentioned, happiness defines the quality of our life, and the quality of life depends on the close relations that we have in social, family, friend. And I'll come to the conclusion later on. There is one question from the participant, Sandeep Sen. And his question is, Swamiji, thanks for the excellent discourse. You said India has rich relationship and environment for happiness, but the UN Happiness Report 2021 places India in the 139th spot, while Finland is a place at the top. So is the UN report wrong, or are we over-evaluating ourselves? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think, it's a very interesting point. And I have thought about this also. So one of the things which I want to share is the parameters based on which we actually establish or define happiness. So what I have seen is the West has a very different way of approaching happiness and what they consider as happiness. And the Eastern cultures have a totally different way of approach. One such example I'll share is just family. Okay, so as far as a country like Luxembourg is concerned, it has a 88% divorce rate. Spain has 65%, France has 55%, Russia 51%, US has 46%, global divorce rate is 44%. So when you consider the social dimensions, then I think there are, from the context of what we discussed today, the importance of developing trustworthy, close, intimate, dependable relationships. India is far ahead in the game. We have the lowest divorce rate in the world, and the family values are still very robust. So therefore, that is a matter of great concern, that if we do not continue to invest in that, then it becomes very difficult for people to ultimately, they will be in the middle, neither here nor there. So as far as the other parameters with respect to infrastructure, employment opportunities, corruption in society, and things like that, that is not something which I can comment upon, because Sunil and others who are actually in positions to influence those factors should comment. But my area of work is mainly on personal self-development and families' cultural development. So I strongly believe and I have seen that even in the remotest villages, when you go, that even with the minimum means, the ability of families to just stay together and live in very limited infrastructure and share resources is something which is extremely unique in India. So therefore, I do believe that, this is an interesting question, and this has definitely inspired me to take this particular happiness index reports over the last 8 to 10 years and then study it from the perspective of what can cultural values do to reverse it, or why India, in spite of having so much of spiritual wisdom, is being ranked like that, and what are those factors which is making this actually happen. So these are my thoughts.
Thank you, Prabhuji. See, Prabhuji, you spoke about yoga, discipline in life, food. Swami Vivekananda had said that meditation is the gate that opens that infinite joy in you. So, Prabhuji, your comments on this?
Yeah, that's right. That just like if you have a detected oil under the ground, and then there is a refinery, and that is drilling deep inside, and the oil drill, based on the drill from under the ground, whatever may be the distance, the oil comes out. So the oil is not visible from outside, but through geosensing, we find out where it is and start that process. Similarly, that spiritual joy is deep within, and the method of drilling and bringing that joy out is what is known as meditation.
So thank you. With this, we come to the conclusion of this session. Thank you, Prabhuji, for enlightening us on happiness. Happiness, along with all emotions, is just a kind of chemistry. We are all students of science, engineering. So we do understand this chemistry, and what we need to know is the technology which can create this kind of chemistry within ourselves that can keep us happy. And Prabhuji, you have provided us, that formula for that the secret of happiness lies in relationship, quality of life, in relationship, what kind of relations you have, satisfying relations with a family, friend, social network, and that requires integrity, tolerance, service, humility, your attitude. So thank you for enlightening us. I will end this dialogue, this session, with a quote from our greatest management and spiritual text of all times, Bhagavad Gita. In the second chapter called Sankhya Yoga, the Lord tells Arjuna, Na jayate briyate va kadachit, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya. That is, the inner circle soul is within us, eternal, immoral, and ageless. When we are blissful, we no longer be in the pursuit of happiness. The happiness is already within us, and we need to, experience it. And Prabhuji has provided great enlightenment on that, how we can experience happiness. So thank you, Prabhuji, and thanks all the participants. Thank you.